and I decided to do a centaur. I sketched it off camera. I was just sort of inspired to do it then, and I didn't feel like putting up the camera and all that stuff with the tripod. But here I am actually adjusting one of the legs because it was too big. And so what I'm going to do here with this sketch is go and refine parts of it and add things to make it more to my liking. And I adjusted the belt, and I added another armor piece there. I felt like I needed it. And now I'm inking, doing some line work. I'm not going to do line work on the whole image, just on parts of it, because I want to have some movement in this piece. So, if you ever do fur, make sure you do little dashes that not attached to each other to make it look like fur. And here I'm doing her hair, and it's sort of solid. But you notice there's a gap there in the hair. You want little gaps and things like that because it shows movement. If I were to completely make that opaque, it would look stiff. It would look like a stiff thing attached to her hair, her head, like a branch or something. So if you want to make something look like it has movement when you're inking your artwork, it's good to have little sketchy areas of it and parts where the lines are not completely opaque, where they're sort of segmented, because that shows movement, even though this is a static image. But see that I'm doing the fur right now. See how the lines are separate from each other? They're not completely connected, and that gives it that sort of fluffy look. So as you can tell when I ink, I'm doing an outline there of the shield. I don't completely outline the whole image opaquely, because like I said, I want some movement in this whole thing. And then I'm gonna go ahead and color in the shield. The eyes are gonna be opaque black eventually. So now I'm doing some little fur details, which are just little doodads and dashes and dots to make it look fluffy. And this is for lighting purposes, because the lighting is coming from the above from the left. And here I am adding some more. I think that pen I was using is too thick. I eventually switched to a thinner pen to give some finer lines. But that pen I'm using right now is probably a little too thick to get the kind of details that I want. Now here I start coloring the part of the shield solid black, but not completely solid. I leave white in there. I want to make it look sketchy. So if you want something to look like it has movement, or that looks sketchy, don't fill it opaquely. Leave some white in the background, because that gives it a more lively look, a more sketchy look. Now I move on to the tail of the centaur, and as you can tell, this is also very loose, very sketchy, and I'm going to try to do that. So I'm inking it sort of, I would call messy, sort of sketchy sort of inking. And what that does, and it gives you looseness. And the shading that I'm doing right now also is very quick. The quicker the better, because it keeps you from getting stiff. And the tail now looks like it's flowing, even though it's a static image. The tail looks light and looks like it should be in the air. If I were to ink that tail opaquely with solid colors, it would look so stiff. Okay, so I'm trying to show you what to do to make something look like it's moving. Now here are the hind legs. These are more opaque because I want this centaur to look like it's planted. In this case, in the snow. So I want it to, part of it, to be sort of solid on the ground, and that's why I used more dark colors in the legs. So all these things are thought out beforehand. You have to think about what you're trying to achieve as an artist, and don't just randomly just ink things without really putting thought behind it. So now I'm doing the shading on the right side of the armor. The pen that I'm using right now is, I believe, a 0.5, which is really nice because it gives me really fine lines, and I'm able to go in there and give it a softer look. The finer the tip of the pen, the thinner the line, and sort of the softer effect you get on your artwork. Obviously, the opposite is also true. The thicker the tip, you know, the heavier your ink or your artwork may look because of the size of the tip. And I'm working the front part of the centaur. Now this has to be lighter than the rear end, the rear legs. I want it lighter. I want it to look like it's moving. So what I'm doing here is avoiding outlining the whole image. There are some outlines there, but not as many as I would otherwise have in a static image. But since it's a centaur that's moving, I'm trying to avoid a lot of outlines. And here I'm simply just adding shading to that armor. And that leg is very loose, is very light looking. And there are some hard lines, some darker lines in there for a reason, to give it weight. But the shading has to be light to make it look like it's moving. So here I'm just touching up little areas just to put shadow. And here's another example where I'm putting little dashed lines for the legs, so that I'm trying to avoid, like I said, outlining the thing, because what happens is it makes it look static. And then I'm going to do the fur and just one directional shading, very sketchy like, and that's going to give me the lightness and the movement that I'm looking for in the inking. And you notice I didn't even outline that hoof. It because it's a movement. If I outline that thing, then it'll just become static. So be careful with when you outline things. If you want something to be static, you outline it. If you want it loose, you don't outline it. You put little dashed lines. And now coming to the end of the video, I'm here erasing the pencil marks. But I want to thank everyone for it was a great 2020 for me, for my channel. I think in 2020 I've grown quite a bit, probably because of COVID. I've been staying home watching videos. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to making more videos in 2021. And I hope you guys have a safe New Year's, and I'll see you just around the corner.